Welcome to this edition of Global Visitor. I'm Liana in Beijing. Today, we'll bring you to Christianshavn, a harbor quarter of Copenhagen in Denmark. We'll see the 26-year-old Church of Our Savior, traditional homes, modern residential apartments, as well as refurbished buildings in Christianshavn. We'll also go to Torvegade, the main street on Christianshavn, and Noma restaurant, being called the world's best restaurant.
Christianshavn is in the old times, maybe not so much today, but in the old times when people were born in Christianshavn, they felt they were in the middle of the world.
Visiting Christianshavn, close to the center of Copenhagen, capital of Denmark, is like taking a tour back in time. The area was founded in 1619, and you can still see old buildings from that time. Originally an area to house immigrants from the Netherlands, Christianshavn is today among the trendiest areas to live in Denmark.
Christianshavn is a harbour quarter of Copenhagen. Built around a network of canals and bounded by the sea, the quarter is connected to the centre of Copenhagen and to the neighbouring island of Amager by a number of bridges. It has an area of just 3.5 square kilometres and is home to around 10,000 people. Crossing the Knippelsbro Bridge is a bit like crossing a national frontier. Behind me is Copenhagen, capital of Denmark, but here is Christianshavn, a self-declared independent village inside the capital city. Founded in 1619, the area is named after King Christian IV, one of Denmark's most colourful monarchs. He funded some of this country's best-known architectural wonders and almost bankrupted the Danish state in the process. But part of his legacy is this charming, picturesque harbour quarter, surrounded by the sea on 3 sides. With its canals, bridges, churches, and every brick steeped in history, this area is a must-see for the tourist. So let's go take a look. First, we're heading to Christianshavn's most distinctive landmark, the 260-year-old Church of Our Savior. A local legend says that Laurits de Thura, the architect who built this church, committed suicide by jumping off its spiralling tower, because the tower spirals to the right instead of to the left. But it is just a myth. On a more pleasant note, the church bells play happy tunes every hour of the day, a sound that can be heard all over Christianshavn. Now come with me on a tour to the top of the tower. Well, there are about 400 steps leading to the top of this 90-meter tall tower, and about half of which are on the outside of the tower. They say the way to God is hard and long, and this tower proves the point. Well, here I am at the top of the tower, and I must say the view is remarkable. But things have not always looked like this. Christianshavn was a flat and marshy backwater when King Christian IV chose to build a residential quarter here for immigrants from the Netherlands, who would have lived in houses like this. Plots of land were given freely to those who wished to set up trading houses, and these were snapped up by rich merchants and powerful politicians from Copenhagen. In fact, Christianshavn itself was incorporated into Copenhagen city in 1674. And after that, trade flourished as industries and workshops and shipyards sprang up. But all this industrial activity attracted many workers who often had to live in appalling conditions. In fact, the area declined into an impoverished slum quarter by the early part of the 19th century and was almost completely razed down by city authorities. Today, however, some of these houses rank amongst Denmark's trendiest places to live in. Besides traditional homes, modern residential apartments have also been built, some of which are located in refurbished buildings. These were previously known as the turbine halls, where the shipyards of Burmeister and Wain built ocean-going liners, huge steam engines and foundries in the 19th and 20th centuries. But no matter whether you live in an old house or new, just to be a Christianshavner is apparently something very special.
Christianshavn is in the old times, maybe not so much today, but in the old times when people were born in Christianshavn, they felt they were in the middle of the world. And if you were born here, you were something special. If you came 400 meters on the other side of the bridge from the older part of Copenhagen, they would say, well, that's nothing. And if you came from Amager on the other side, towards the airport, they would say, oh, it's such a long way out there. So it's something special to be in Christianshavn.
One thing is for sure, if you live in Christianshavn, you do not consider yourself a resident of Copenhagen. You are a Christianshavner, not a Copenhagener. And life here is different in many ways, not least because of the canals. Local people and tourists can enjoy the pleasures of maritime life on the decks of their yachts. Or you can rent a rowboat for a few hours. And I have to admit, this is not as easy as it looks. In fact, these channels have helped protect Christianshavn from the raging fires that affected Copenhagen city in past centuries. The water actually stopped the fire from spreading and has helped to preserve some of this quarter's oldest homes, which are in fact still visible today. But now let us get back on shore to experience something completely different. This is Christiania, where the rules of conventional society do not apply. It's a place for creative souls who innovate with art, lifestyles and self-expression. Christiania was established in 1971 when a group of Christianshavn residents took over an empty decommissioned military barracks to make a playground for their children. The place later became a magnet for hippies, anarchists and social radicals who occupied it and declared it a free state. Today, it has around 1,000 residents who live in a society with common property ownership. It is also a car-free zone, so you have to walk or ride your bike inside on its streets. It has been embroiled in battles over its legal status with various Danish governments over the years. But a recent deal allows Christiania's residents to buy the land from the government and continue to collectively own and maintain the buildings. Of course, they will still have to follow Danish laws. A few minutes drive away from Christiania's back door is another old military installation which has been redeveloped as a center for culture and arts, the former Danish Navy base at Holmen. The fleet had a former home here in Holmen, previously a dockyard, and also Denmark's most important naval station between 1690 and the early 1990s. In fact, this entire area was covered in shipyards, in dry docks, and with giant warehouses supplying the fleet with everything from sails to provisions to weapons and even artillery. In 1807, the powerful British Navy actually captured the entire Danish fleet at harbour here in Holmen, to prevent it falling into the hands of French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte. At the time, Europe was divided into various warring military alliances. Again in 1943, during the Second World War, the Danes chose to destroy the entire fleet themselves, once again here at Holmen, but this time to prevent it falling into the hands of Nazi Germany. Today, Holmen is a marine base. It is also a place which has a number of officer training schools for the Navy. Moreover, it is a place for decommissioned vessels, like this stunning submarine, over there a torpedo boat, and far out there in pale grey, the Peterskam, a famous frigate. They are no longer in use, but are used, in fact, as museums. Holmen is really a small islet adjacent to Christianshavn. As its former role as a full-scale naval station has diminished, it has instead become a place for creative and cultural activities. Actually, there are 4 national schools for the arts, all within a few hundred meters of each other here on Holmen. This is the National Film School of Denmark. Denmark has 120